Salam, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered. Today, I have Maz, Amina, and Hannah with me today. And in honor of it being October, we decided to talk about Halloween this episode, and not like just about where Halloween came from, but also its ties with why it's haram in Islam, and basically growing up in a Western culture where we're surrounded by Halloween when it's actually haram within like Islam. So to start off, I just wanted to ask you guys, how was your experience growing up in, going to elementary school, and there's always you guys always have to celebrate Halloween. There's always like Halloween events all around us. So how did you guys deal with that? Or did you guys even know that Halloween's haram? Because I didn't when I was younger.
So personally, I never really grew up with the idea oh, Halloween is haram, we should never celebrate it, we don't have anything to do with it. Even though my parents, my mom definitely agrees Halloween's haram, you shouldn't celebrate it. But my parents have always given us leeway. I do remember my first conscious memory of Halloween, whether it was haram or not, I had to be 6 or 7 years old. Me and my dad were headed to McDonald's, to get our little Happy Meals, and I was dressed in a ballerina costume. That was my costume that year. And I remember specifically that the worker was a witch or whatever, and my dad was like, "Oh, but Halloween's haram, but you can dress up for it, because you're kids." He wanted us to have fun with it, because especially because when you're that young, you don't really have an idea of what haram even means to an extent. So I don't think that I can sit here and deny that Halloween is entirely halal and it's 100%. And in fact, Muslims, we should go and celebrate Halloween. I'll never say that, but I will say, since it's become such a commercialized holiday, I don't think it doesn't constitute as a religious holiday at all anymore, And so I think that partaking in activities is not necessarily you're going to hell for it, in my opinion. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and be oh, it's halal. So I think that you probably might get bad deeds for it. Probably.
Yeah, I didn't have that experience. I went to, well, I know we both it came up in MCC, but my family was very adamant about me and my cousin and sister not celebrating Halloween. They'd be like, "Nope, this is absolutely under no circumstances are you going to be participating in any part of it." And I don't know, I got the message really quick, and because of that, because they kind of just squashed that before it became anything, I never really had an interest in trick or treating or dressing up or anything. The most that I would do was watch the scary movies that came on, or scary movies they came on Disney Channel or whatever, and then my mom would get me candy after it went on sale on November 1st. So I never really, I don't feel like I missed out on anything, especially because I did go to Muslim school, but I was also an American, so and this is considered an American holiday, quote unquote. But yeah, I never really felt like I was missing anything.
Yeah, I celebrate Halloween every year.
Me too.
Up
I'm
until
not going to
middle
sit here and
school.
lie. Me too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I
Someone
can't. I
minority.
mean, I didn't. It was because I didn't know. I had no idea. I had a couple Muslim, little more extreme Muslim friends of mine, at least
Extreme.
at the time. Yeah,
Conservative.
All right,
Let's call
yeah, I
them
guess. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's probably the better. That's probably the better word.
Extreme.
I mean, at the time, that's what my thought process was as an elementary.
Yeah.
It's
middle
okay.
school
Me
kid.
too. I was like, are you
Like-
guys serious? You don't celebrate
Like
Halloween?
I would go there and I would
relax.
see I would on their doors or something. I would see I would see if they had some sort of Allah calligraphy on their wall. Wow, this is a Muslim, right? And then they have a little piece of paper saying
Yeah.
hey, we don't celebrate this. Man, dude, these Muslims,
too
bro.
much,
I'm just kidding. No, but I mean, again, I think growing up, after we kind of got a better understanding and stuff of it, I think my mindset has a little bit changed over it. But again, at the time, I didn't think twice about it.
So for me specifically, I didn't go to an Islamic school. I went to public school, and in elementary school, basically what they did was every Halloween they had a school-wide parade, and everyone dressed up, and then they would do you would have to walk around in your costume and then collect candy. It was honestly really fun, so I enjoyed it, and that's why.
That sounds so
Yeah,
unappealing to me.
it was so much
They
fun,
made
and I
us do
loved
that for
it.
Christmas.
And honestly, in a sense, it kind of when you grow up around these fun activities, and for Christmas we would do that, I'd be like, oh my god, this is so much fun. And when I grew up and realized it was haram, I was just like, this sucks, because I actually really enjoyed it and it looks like a lot of fun. And even when I was younger, my mom, she would buy costumes for me and everything. And when she did buy costumes for me, it wasn't anything like a devil or a ghost or anything. They were princess costumes or
and
stuff
stuff.
like that. And my mom's like, oh, if you dress up like a devil on the day of judgment, you'll become the devil. Like my mom would literally say that, and like I don't know if
I
that's
don't think
if
that's how it works.
yeah, that's not how it works, but it definitely scared me. So then when I grew older, I was like, oh yeah, I don't want to turn into a devil. Like maybe I'll dress up like something else. But like obviously when I was younger, it was really glorifying. It was really fun. And then also that part of like not wanting to feel left out. If I was like walking in front of the whole school and I wasn't like dressed up like anything, I would feel left out, especially as a child. Like you want to fit in, you want to do what everyone else is doing, and it's fun. So that's another aspect of it, like growing up in like the Western culture where like it is an American holiday now more than anything, even though it didn't originate like that, but it is. And like you said, it's a commercialized holidays, and you know how Americans take commercialized holidays. But other than that, did you guys know how Halloween originated, or where, like, because it wasn't always trick or treat, or it wasn't just like always wearing costumes, like these extravagant costumes and parties. But do you guys have an idea on where it originated from?
Yeah, I mean, Halloween's always been my favorite holiday, so I've been committed. I've been standing by this point. I'm like, yeah, guys, I celebrate Halloween. This is why, you know, like, um, and for me, like, I know that it originated within the roots of paganism, and it was a day that they had to celebrate their dead, especially the dead that inspired faith. And so it's kind of like the Hispanic holiday. What's it called?
Dia de los
Dia
Muertos.
de los Muertos.
Yes.
The
That's
Day
the
of the
one.
Dead, which is
The day,
the day
oh,
that-
the
I was
Day of the
close.
Dead. Yeah, I should have just said that. But so it's kind of like their holiday, and so a lot of people think that it like stems in Satanism, it stems in like devil worship, but that's just not the case at all. It's just a day that these people or like this religious group, which again, paganism is actually not. It's like almost
It's
a
not-
dead religion.
Yeah, it's not
a
even
religion.
like when people think of paganism, they like I don't know why they just directly think of Satanism as one of them. but
It's the
paganism
ism.
is
Yeah, it's the
idol-
Islam.
the
Yeah,
ism.
exactly. But the
it's
thing is,
idolatry. It's
yeah,
not-
Yeah.
and the actual religion that it stemmed from was Celtic. That was like the
Oh, yeah.
religion. Yeah, and
And that's
they,
like an old
yeah, it's
European
very,
religion,
very
like
old
centuries and
and-
centuries.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
ancient.
And that specific holiday, they were really into like nature and like supernatural things. So on October 31st, the reason that they celebrated was because it was to welcome like the dark, cold winter days. And also on that day, they believed that there would be like a bunch of like people coming back from the dead. So they would create bonfires and they would sacrifice animals, and then they would also dress up as like scary creatures to ward off those spirits, because and then it was never part of American culture whatsoever. When in mid like 19th century, like no, the 20th century, like 1900s, like middle of that, when there was a rise in immigration, the Irish people, they came here and they actually celebrated this holiday, and then it became more commercialized because of America, and that's how it became the modern day like trick or treat parties, and basically that's how it came to be in America.
That's actually so interesting because
Yeah.
I had no idea that
Yeah.
the Irish brought us this
Mhm.
holiday.
Yeah, because it was mainly from Europe, like it generally originated
old
from
white holiday.
Yeah, exactly. And then but going back to Islam and its relation to and why we think it's haram. So some people say that it has to do with Satanism and that's why it's haram, because it directly talks about like idolizing Satan. But on like based on my research, I found nothing like that. Have you guys
Yeah.
found anything like that whatsoever?
No,
No.
it has nothing to do with like the devil or worshiping or glorifying him. It's more. I was always taught that it was the reason it was haram was more to do with the fact that it was rooted in paganism, which at MCC they taught us was idolatry. I know that it's like a lot broader than that, but idolatry we all know is like a form of shirk,
Yeah.
and that is like the unforgivable sin in Islam. So like that's kind of another reason that I was never really interested in Halloween, because I didn't want to mess with that because it felt risky.
What's interesting about that is
Yeah.
paganism, like when it comes to celebrating Halloween itself, like All Hallows Eve, that actually has nothing to do with idolatry. Like the holiday itself does not pertain to like idolatry because it never was worshiping an object, it was never worshiping statues. It was like welcoming a change in the season, and it was celebrating their dead.
Doesn't paganism like stem off idolatry?
Yeah.
Yes.
But we're
So-
talking about like, I was just saying like the holiday itself, like it doesn't directly relate to the idolatry.
But if it
it's like a different part.
But if it like originated off of like a paganist
I'm not a
belief,
pagan
right?
expert.
I know, but you explained it, right? How
Yeah,
it
that's
came
just
off
how
that
I've
belief.
like interpreted like Halloween in specific.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna agree to those things, right, that it just came from paganists and paganists believe in adultery, then would you still, and as a Muslim, knowing that like we go against that, would you would you still again like kind of agree or go or like
I
enjoy
don't think
doing
she
this
said she
Halloween thing?
agrees with it.
Whoa, I didn't say, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I didn't say that I'm celebrating the pagan holiday. I'm saying if there's a new Halloween movie, I'm going to watch it. If there's a haunted house, I'm going. Like, that's what I'm saying.
That's about as far as I go. I watch horror movies, but
Yeah.
I watch horror movies year round because I am a film enthusiast and I like horror movies. But
But watching horror movies, does that make you a
no,
bad
not
Muslim?
no.
For watching
No.
I don't think so. But
Are
like
if
for
is
me,
it a
that's the-
Halloween movie? A Halloween
like,
slasher movie? Does that make you a bad
The
Muslim
only
then?
Halloween movie I watch is Halloween, the movie, the one that's actually called Halloween. But other than that, like the rest of them are just like horror themed. But again, that's about as close as I get to Halloween. Like I buy my candy on November 1st because it's all on sale, and that's kind of just how I get.
Yeah.
That's my extent of like. I also hate haunted houses.
Oh.
I do them with my friends that like them, but I end up I grab people when I'm scared. Either that or I get physical, to protect myself. And so like, yeah, I'm not a fan. It's not
Well,
a vibe for me.
So what are your thoughts, like, if you're like, oh, well, I believe, like, Halloween is, like, blatantly haram. What are your thoughts on, like, well, I mean, you're celebrating Halloween by going to a haunted house. Like, we're going to corn maze, like a haunted corn maze, like, we're all
Yeah.
celebrating. So,
Ooh,
like,
it's
I don't think that that's celebrating though, because
Yeah,
I have a friend who's very conservative. Her mom is an alama, and she not only did she like participate in haunted houses, but she would do like the special effects makeup for them, and she is extremely. I would not see. You got me using the word extreme. She is very conservative. Like there's a lot of things that she doesn't do, like because she wants to follow Islam in like its purest sense, but she allows herself to indulge in haunted houses. So I wouldn't say it's like falling down a slippery slope. I think it's just more of her doing something that she happens to enjoy.
Well, I
that
don't think
happens to
any
come
part of-
around this Halloween season. So I don't know.
I don't think it happens to come around Halloween season. I think that going to haunted houses, dressing up in costumes, I think it's all very Halloween. You don't do it any other time
I
of
don't
the year.
do the costume thing.
So I think it's very much celebrating Halloween to go to a haunted house during Halloween season, knowing that it's themed because it's Halloween. Haunted houses aren't just up and about any other time of the year. They're there because it's Halloween.
Yes,
So that's where I get, like, for me, like, confused when other people are like, oh, I don't celebrate Halloween. I think Halloween's haram, but then they're partaking in activities that directly pertain to Halloween. Like, you're celebrating Halloween. Like, call a dog, like, whatever the phrase is,
So I feel like with that specifically, it goes with like any.
Call
Call a tiger
dog
by its
a
spots? What
dog.
is that?
Is that what you said?
God, wait, maybe
I've never heard of that.
guys,
so-
call a tiger by its spots.
a
Is that what
snake
it
is a
snake,
snake.
leopard?
Yeah.
I thought you said call a dog by a dog.
Call a dog a dog.
Call a
get
dog
what
a
you're
dog.
trying
Like
to
going
say.
forward.
You guys know what I
going
meant,
forward.
yeah.
But basically, when it comes to these specific things and growing up in Western culture, there's always like a fine line that you need to draw and like what your certain stance is on it. So for you guys specifically, you explained how you thought it was haram because it was like based off of paganism. So for me specifically, I never looked into it myself on why it was haram. Like whatever my mom said, I went along with it. But then obviously I did my own research and figured out why it's haram, and it is originated from a paganism holiday. And in Islam, there's a Quran verse that says, when it is said unto them, come to what Allah has revealed, come to the messenger, they say, enough for us are the ways we found our fathers following. What, even though their fathers were void of knowledge and guidance? So basically what this verse is really saying is when there's someone who basically doesn't follow the religion of Islam and follows something else, and you come upon them to follow Islam, they basically reject the truth, which is Islam, and they say that we're not going to follow it because our forefathers, the people before us, knew what was better. And it goes to, in a sense, like, okay, yeah, there's people that believe certain things, but at the end of the day, you have to look at what the Quran says and what Islam says, and you have to follow that. It's not really, it's very black and white in that sense. It is what it is. And also, there's also a hadith where it said, we were given two religious holidays, the two Eids, and you have to follow that and go along with it. And that is why they say, like, just follow whatever holidays that you have and don't partake in anything else. And obviously it is hard because, we do live in America, and a lot of Western holidays, like even Christmas, it's hard for us to not want to celebrate in these activities because it's very fun and people glorify it. But other than that, like, do you guys have any other reasons on why you think it's haram or why it shouldn't be celebrated?
So I just wanted to ask a question real quick, because now that we heard that, do you guys still think like is partaking in any activity correlated to Halloween haram then? Again, trick or treating, dressing up in costume, corn mazes, haunted houses, Halloween movies. Like now hearing that, do you guys think that it's still haram and you guys won't do it again, or you'll keep doing it because you just accepted that's a sin you're comfortable with?
Well, I feel like, especially with trick or treating, that is something that literally goes back to the original pagan tradition.
actual,
So
yeah.
that's not something that was like they brought and commercialized. That's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
that was with the Celts and they brought it here. And so for me, that's kind of why it's easier for me to draw a line between trick or treating and just like participating in something that might, scare you and get your blood
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah,
Like-
I won't ever trick or treat ever again.
Yeah.
Oh
but
yeah, me
also-
neither,
I've
guys.
learned my
Me
lesson.
neither.
Okay, and
I will
also
never
I'm
do it.
about to out myself as a huge nerd, but there are so many, like there are other opportunities where you can dress up in costume and have fun without, not necessarily compromising your face, but without towing that line.
Yeah.
Because like I'm a cosplayer, and I actually didn't start doing that until I was an adult. And I may or may not share pictures of it on Instagram, but it's a lot of fun, especially because I'm hijabi, and so I get to like be really creative with my costumes. And so I feel like especially finding cosplay was like my reward for not partaking in Halloween when I was a kid, because I'm sure that at one point I wanted to, do the costumes and the trick-or-treating and get free candy and all of that. But at the end of the day, like, even as a young kid, I kind of I chose faith over that. And so now I get to do something that's fun and that doesn't make me feel at all guilty.
Yeah. Going off of
Wow.
what you said, that's when I was
Mashallah.
younger and I was told Halloween was haram. I was just like, okay, wait, like people do costumes and like, cause I thought it was a haram to celebrate Halloween, like if you were dressed up in costume or those specific reasons. But people dress up in costumes, like if there's a random costume party that isn't correlated to
costume
Halloween,
party,
or like cosplay.
convention.
But like you make a good point, because trick or treating goes back to the original, I guess, ceremonies or rituals that
Yeah, it
they
was
did
like
for that
gifts they used to
specific
give
religion.
children.
Yeah.
It was like Christmas,
Exactly.
If
Like
the child was
back
good,
in
they
the
would
day,
get treats.
back in the day, they didn't have corn mazes, where it was like haunted corn mazes or haunted houses. So it goes back to like what you believe or what you think is right or wrong. For me specifically, I think partaking in like haunted houses is fine, and partaking in like corn mazes or stuff like that is fine. But I personally wouldn't go to a Halloween party or dress up.
Oh, no.
I wouldn't trick or treat. But that's where I draw the line, I guess.
So with that being said, how are we raising our children, guys? We'll start with
My
Amina.
kids already know. They're not even here.
Your kids are okay.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
they're not. I'm not saying.
You told
they're-
them?
Yeah,
Let 'em know?
no, I
Oh.
told them their thoughts in God's mind right now,
Oh,
but they
perfect.
already
But
know.
you don't have kids, just to clarify.
No, 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 no,
No,
no,
just to
no,
clarify.
no.
What kind
Anyways, my point is that it's I also I'm this small minority that wants to send my kids to Islamic school, so like they're not going to have anything to do with Halloween. And because I am a huge nerd, they're probably going to come with me to those conventions where I can dress them up in costumes anyway. So they'll
There
have
you
that,
go.
and I can buy them candy because I'm an adult with a job.
Yeah,
So-
I thought about that. So I was like, you know what? Like maybe I'll let my kids, kind of like, at that young age, as a like elementary school,
You'll
whatever.
confuse them.
But then I'll, as they get older, I'll explain to them, this is wrong. But at the same
Save
but at the
yourself
same
the
time,
trouble.
like, oh, you know what? Like, I want you to kind of experience. I don't want to deprive you of that experience. I don't want you to be like a social outcast or whatever. But then I was like, you know what? I did say that I want to put my kids to Islamic school, so like they wouldn't even experience that anyway. So I guess it didn't matter.
Yeah, and we didn't miss anything. I did Islamic school for 10 years, and then like
Yeah.
I was fine.
Exactly.
I mean, I went to Islamic
Yeah.
school for 8 years, and when it was a weekday, I'd go to school here and then come home, change into my costume, trick or treat.
Damn.
So, I'll tell you that right now, like
Different time. We went to
2
school
years-
about
Wow.
2 years ago, the
Eight-
Fall Fest.
10 years apart.
We have
Changed
talked,
out of my
we're gonna be
came home
talking to
from
your
school.
teachers, Hannah. We're
Came
gonna
home
talk
from
to them,
school,
all
changed
right?
out of my costume, and went to MCC's Fall Fest. Like, really,
Yeah.
like, for my own kids, I'm
Yeah,
honestly.
we don't claim her. We don't claim
All
her.
right. For my own kids, I'm not going to. Again, I just honestly like I don't want to call it hypocritical, but I think that if you're gonna call Halloween haram, you're gonna call it haram. Like haunted houses are haram, corn mazes, excuse me, are haram. Like partaking in anything that pertains to Halloween, then if you want to call like specific parts of like dressing up in a costume like for the specific days haram, then so is going and celebrating like by attending like an activity that's only there because of Halloween. Like I think that if you're going to like you can't pick and choose, like
Yeah.
which Halloween
Yeah,
activities are
but
haram or
also
halal.
like going back to what Amina said, she made a good point that that is specifically like, you know, dressing up and everything is specifically from that like religion. Like same goes for like, I personally don't think decorating a gingerbread house is haram, but it is an activity that you do around Christmas time.
Carving a pumpkin.
know?
We do gingerbread masjids. We used
Nobody.
to do that.
No. Oh.
Yeah, I carve pumpkins. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I
It's like-
carve pumpkins, but I don't
don't.
put faces on them.
I'm black. I don't like
Oh.
pumpkins.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're smart. I didn't even think about that.
I be putting my little faces,
I
but yeah,
know.
so that's
Some
how I
things are
see it.
gross.
I think like if you're gonna say that Halloween's haram, you're gonna commit to that, you know. And so for me, I'm not gonna sit here and pick and choose like and be like, oh well, this is okay just because I think like if it's haram, it's haram, and we actively choose which sins we want to participate in. And for my own kids, honestly, my parents taught us like, you know what, like this Islamically is not like it, but this is an American holiday, you know, like this is part of you like being an American, like it's not.
Yeah, but wouldn't you be Muslim before you're American?
Obviously,
though?
but I'm just saying the way that we grew up seeing it is it wasn't a religious holiday at all. Okay, like we did not grow up thinking that it was like a religious holiday.
how
But then
I
it's
agree
also
seeing it as a
it's
religious
also like
holiday.
kind of in a sense where it's just like ignorance is bliss. Like now that you're aware and like you know where it's originating from, and then back to what I said, it's up to your interpretation at that point. A lot of things in Islam. I feel like we try to find like a middle ground for it, but there really isn't. And
actually,
at
I
the end of the
disagree
Yeah,
with
day,
that.
Islam
like,
is black and white, and
I-
we look
no,
for
it's
gray.
not
we
black
look
and
for
white.
grays all over the place.
Islam is definitely not black and white in the sense that every last
Some
thing is
things are.
covered. Some things are, but you know what? The Prophet ﷺ said, "Inna ja'alnakum ummatan wasata." Like he said, we have made you an ummah that goes in the middle. Like, you know, like you guys are not like too far left and you're not too far right. Like we're in the middle, you know? Like there's a middle ground in Islam. So that is our gray area. And I think that there's certain things, for example, and you can't say it's black and white because in the Quran it does not say Halloween in specific is haram.
No, of
You
course
know?
not.
So there's your gray
that's-
area right there. But the way that I see it for my own kids, I'm not going to bar them from something I grew up doing and thinking was fine. Like, my parents were aware, like, oh, you know what? Like, Islamically, this is not it. My parents did say, like, okay, guys, tone it back. Like, we're not going to sit there and decorate our house with ghouls and goblins, you know? But at the same time, if my kid's in elementary school and they want to go trick-or-treating, like, I'll take them trick-or-treating. My dad took us trick-or-treating. It's not an issue for me, honestly. And again, I think that we choose the sins that we, partake in. And I don't think that based on my interpretation, this is not something that I'm doing where I'm actively trying to involve myself in shirk, and I'm 100% denouncing any relation that I have to this holiday and God, you know? So I think it comes down to how seriously you interpret things and how you want to look at it, because again, I just don't think you can pick and choose between what you decide, what Halloween activities are haram versus which ones are not, you know?
And I feel like, you know, regardless of what you end up choosing, if you want to allow your kids to celebrate it when they're younger and then, you know, explain it to them when they're older, just like completely take it out of their childhood. At the end of the day, as long as they know they're Muslim and what it is or what it isn't, I feel like that's what matters the most. At the end of the day, they're your kids. You get to do what you want to do with them. And then your kids, like when they grow older too, they'll have that same conversation where they'll research themselves and find a conclusion for themselves as well. That's something that I did. I grew up like celebrating Halloween and I loved it. And obviously, as I grew older, I knew what was right, what was wrong. But at the end of the day, it is up to you. It's everything that you do as a Muslim is between you and Allah. And at the end of the day, you can't be like, oh, you're going to hell for this, like you said. You know, like,
absolutely.
it's not like written in the Quran. Like it is what it is. And it is tough. You know, we grew up in America, so it is something that we do have to deal with. And at the end of the day, it's up to you. And whatever you end up doing, whatever it is, may it be in your favor, whenever that comes into question. But other than that, I hope everyone enjoyed this episode, and like, subscribe, and comment on our YouTube channel, on our Instagram, and we'll see you guys next week.
Mama, what was your best Halloween costume?
You know what my mom made me do one time because it was on sale? Prisoner of Love.
What the hell is that?
What is that?